Hello. Welcome back.
Did you see Jessica's new haircut? So cringe.
Don't even get me started on how cringe the new Marvel movie was.
Using words like lit and slay, unironically, is just so cringe at this point.
Did you hear him try to use Gen Z slang? I cringed so hard I pulled a muscle.
If there's a reward for taking a word in the human language, strapping it up to a rocket, and sending it to your anus, Cringe is getting that award for the year 2024. It seems to be in half the videos I watch here on YouTube. Once you hear the word in videos, you can't unhear it. The word cringe makes my ass itch. So those are my quick thoughts about the word cringe. You want to know someone who dislikes the word cringe more than me? Janice. No last name needed.
Janice's hatred of the word cringe stemmed from her belief that it had become a lazy, reductive put-down that stifled nuanced discussion. What once served as insightful commentary about awkward or uncomfortable situations had devolved into a dismissive meme hurled at anything that didn't conform to a narrow set of online standards. To Janice, the indiscriminate branding of videos, posts, opinions, and casual interactions as cringe represented the worst kind of groupthink harassment. It was the digital equivalent of a high school clique mocking anyone who didn't fit their rigid idea of what was cool or acceptable. By deploying cringe as an all-purpose insulting critique, the internet mobs closed ranks against sincerity, creativity, and simply being oneself without reckless judgment. Janice desperately wanted to fight back against that demoralizing tide of overused negativity.
Janice, no last name needed, is the main character in the story you are about to listen to, The Cringe Crusader. And now without further ado.
The Cringe Crusader. Janice slammed her laptop shut, her eyes burning from scrolling through another endless feed of secondhand embarrassment.
Cringe.
This and
Cringe.
that. It seemed like the only word millions of bored internet denizens knew how to type anymore. What had started as a semi-clever way to label awkward social situations had ballooned into a trite, overdone put-down applied to anything and everything. Genuine cringiness deserved to be called out, but now the word had lost all meaning through sheer overuse.
I can't take it anymore.
She growled through gritted teeth. Her roommate Kylie looked up from her physics textbook with a raised eyebrow.
Let me guess, you saw something cringe again?
Of course I did. When don't I see something labeled as cringe these days?
Janice ranted.
It's on every video, every post, every comment thread. The slightest awkward moment gets dogpiled by all these self-important critics crying cringe.
She leapt up and started pacing their tiny apartment.
It's a perfectly good word that's been drained of all value through sheer oversaturation. We're living in a cringe singularity.
Kylie snorted.
Well, getting this worked up over slang is maybe a little cringy itself.
Say that word one more time and you'll be the one cringing.
Okay.
Kylie held up her hands defensively.
So what's your master plan to stop the unstoppable march of cringiness?
Janice stopped pacing and a slow smile spread across her face.
That's it, you're right. There is no stopping something that's gone fully virulent. But what if I could inoculate against it?
She rushed over to her laptop and started furiously typing. Ideas sparked together in her brain like a shower of sparks from flint steel.
I'll create an algorithm, a filter, that can detect that dreaded C word across every platform. Then I'll deploy it as a browser extension, maybe an app too, that automatically blocks and censors anytime someone uses cringe in a post or comment.
Kylie looked skeptical.
You really think people will actually use this anti-cringe weapon of yours?
Of course! There are plenty of people just as fed up with the incessant cringing as I am. With my cringe blocker, we can take the internet back from these would-be arbiters of awkwardness.
Janice cried, her eyes bright with righteous fervor. As Kylie watched her roommate's obsessive coding frenzy begin, she couldn't help but wonder. In her zeal to purge the world of cringe, might Janice herself be headed down an even cringier path? Over the next few weeks, Janice barely left her laptop, feverishly constructing the code that would become her cringe blocker extension. She ran it through beta testing, incorporated feedback, and refined the algorithm to accurately detect any utterance of the C word across all major platforms. Finally, it was ready to unleash upon the internet. With a few deft keystrokes, she published the cringe blocker extension to browsers everywhere and released the complimentary app. Now she just had to spread the word about her creation and watch it go viral in glorious anti-cringe defiance. To her delight, it didn't take long for Cringe Blocker to catch on. Fed-up internet citizens everywhere embraced her solution, installing the extension and app en masse to cleanse their feeds of all cringiness. Suddenly the barrage of overused
Cringe
comments disappeared, replaced by censor boxes or silly substitute phrases. Janice's social media feeds, once graveyards of repetitive snark, became oases of commentary without the omnipresent critique of cringeness. She'd done it. She was the cringe crusader who saved the internet, or so she thought. At first, Cringe Blocker's rapid growth was celebrated. But inevitably those left still spouting
Cringe
felt attacked, claiming censorship. The very enforcers of societal awkwardness Janice railed against now turned their ire toward her algorithm, mocking it as the real
Cringefest.
What's more, some argued that by overcompensating and blocking all usage of the word
Cringe,
Janice had overcorrected. Wasn't some degree of cringiness okay to point out? Now anything even mildly awkward went unlabeled or misconstrued. Internet discourse, as always, descended into bitter tribalism. The pro-cringe blockers became just as militant as the anti-cringers, with each side tossing the insult of
cringe
back and forth toward each other. A vicious cycle of meta-cringiness took hold. Janice watched in horror as her well-intentioned invention to stamp out indiscriminate cringe labeling led to a whole new layer of cringy culture war. Before long, using Cringe Blocker itself was decried as cringe by those who opposed it. As Janice stared at the deeply unfunny memes and comments mocking her creation, she realized there was no way to win the war against cringiness. It would just endlessly perpetuate itself in more and more contorted layers of self-referential awkwardness. With a resigned sigh, she disabled the extension's code and took Cringe Blocker permanently offline. Sometimes, the only way to conquer true cringiness was to log off entirely.
The Cringe Crusader is the first of 3 stories about the word cringe that will be released over the next couple of weeks. The analytics have shown me that y'all don't watch my longer videos. Hopefully that'll change in the future, but for the time being, each episode will hopefully be around 10 minutes or less. If you're viewing this in the future, click the playlist to view the other cringe stories. Or click some other videos the algorithm thinks you'll enjoy. Okay. That's it for me now. See you in the future.